What's happening, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome to week 4. We've got Seahawks-Cardinals tonight. Hanging out as long as you guys want to, leading up to kickoff. And you know the drill at this point. We'll go over practice reports, latest injury information that we have, which therefore allows us to start taking a look at potential start-sit decisions for your starting lineup this week. We can go into that. And as always, any other questions that you may have, roster makeup, trades, general thoughts, we can talk shop. We'll go through the latest injury updates that we have first. I will do a general overview, just generic thoughts on the players going tonight. Players that are obvious starts, players that might be starts, and players that are probably better left on your bench. And then we'll take all questions. So we've only got a limited amount of time. Let's kick things off based off of what we have as far as information today. Justin Fields in concussion protocol, missed week 3 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the New York Jets. He practiced in full today. That is one of the steps to clearing protocol, is completing full practices, not just limited practices. He has to get through full practices in order to be cleared. He did that today. This was the Jets' first day of practice because they play on Monday Night Football. This is another week with a Monday Night Football doubleheader, so be sure to keep that in mind when it comes to scheduling. And as it pertains to players tonight, make sure that they are in position spots and not in the flex spot. Leave those flex spots open for Sunday and Monday. Maintain flexibility, pun intended. But Fields, good signs, good steps in his progress to return for the Jets in week 4. Got an injury update regarding the 49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayuk. According to the team, he is not close to returning. That, if you recall, that's not a big surprise for Brandon Ayuk. Last year, we're about a couple of weeks away from, I think he tore his ACL in week 6 or week 7 of last year. It was on the earlier side, not right away at the start of the season, but on the earlier side. It wasn't a clean ACL injury. He also tore his MCL, and I believe he tore his LCL as well. Basically, he tore all of the major ligaments in his knee. Anytime that happens, the recovery timeline is significantly longer. And that appears to be the case. The other side of this coin is the San Francisco 49ers under head coach Kyle Shanahan are notoriously difficult to trust with the information that they provide the general public. They gave false information routinely last year involving Christian McCaffrey. The situation with Jawan Jennings this year has been weird. They're a little tough to trust. San Francisco is. So, I guess what I'm saying is maybe there's a silver lining here with Brandon Ayuk, a glimmer of hope that he is closer than they are leading on. But just based off the severity of the injury that he suffered last year, I am inclined to take them at their word this time around and do not expect Brandon Ayuk back anytime soon. Maybe like week 10. So, if you're stashing him in redraft and your injuries are piling up, he's droppable, especially if you don't have like a sparkling 3-0 record or a 2-1 start. Hopefully you didn't invest any resources in Brandon Ayuk, but if you did, I would be planning to wait even longer. Whatever your timeline that you thought was going to be the case for Brandon Ayuk, add some more weeks to that. He's probably not going to come back anytime soon. And is he even going to be fantasy relevant in the initial time that he plays? The initial games that he plays. Malik Neighbors practiced on Thursday for the New York Giants. He missed practice on Wednesday. It's going to be a pretty probably common occurrence for Neighbors over the course of the season. His status for Sunday is not in question. News that pertains to tonight, Zach Charbonnet is expected to go on Thursday, so I will talk about Charbonnet when I do my generic thoughts on the Thursday night game and the players that are going in it as it pertains to fantasy. But Charbonnet expected to give it a go after missing Week 3 against the Saints. Colston Loveland not practicing for the second straight day on Thursday. He picked up a hip injury in Chicago's Week 3 win over Dallas. It happened early. I think he got like 2 or 3 targets early in the game. He made a nice 30-yard catch, but he injured his hip, and that was that. Not looking likely to go this week. Xavier Leggett doesn't practice for the second straight day on Thursday. He is not fantasy relevant. And going back to Neighbors, he was officially limited in practice Thursday. Again, on track to play on Sunday. Alec Pierce does not practice again on Thursday. He is in concussion protocol and looking highly unlikely to go for the Colts against the LA Rams. So more opportunities in theory for Josh Downs, who has been quiet to start the season. Maybe A.D. Mitchell sneaks in there a little bit more. He could be a solid dart throw in DFS lineups, but nothing more. Jaden Daniels limited in practice for the second straight day on Thursday. His availability for Sunday is still up in the air. Daniels himself yesterday alluded that it needed to be the decision from the team doctors. Back-to-back limited practices is a good sign. That would put us on track to play, give us optimism for Jaden Daniels, but I don't think he's necessarily been cleared yet. So we got to keep an eye on that. And if you have Jaden Daniels, whatever backup plans you made last week, hopefully you hung on to them. Just in case. There's still time for him to get cleared. But obviously, we would like to know sooner than later. His wide receiver, though, is not looking likely to go this week. Terry McLaurin has a quad injury, didn't practice yesterday, not practicing today. There was a report earlier in the week that he was seeking alternate opinions, alternate options, which generally means if you're seeking a second opinion, you didn't like the first opinion. Analysis. I can't imagine Terry plays this week. The fact that he's seeking alternate opinions, are we looking at a multi-week absence here? Stay tuned on Terry McLaurin. I wouldn't expect to have him this week. And, to be honest, barring a miracle, I don't know that we can expect him for the next couple of weeks, again, seeking multiple opinions about his quad injury. His teammate, Croskey-Merritt, also not practicing for the second straight day on Thursday. Croskey-Merritt has been a bit of a frustrating player to have. He had a solid week 1. The late offseason trade of Brian Robinson, the week 2 injury to Austin Eckler that took him out for the season, appeared to have the arrow pointing straight up on Croskey-Merritt. That didn't come to fruition at all. Chris Rodriguez was active on game day for the first time this year in week 3 and handled a lot, 10, 11 opportunities. Jeremy McNichols had the big touchdown run. So, these two are already regularly involved. Whether it stays that way all season long, we'll find out. We'll see. But Croskey-Merritt not practicing outright, not a great development after, a down week 2, a down week 3, now trending in the wrong direction for week 4. Trending in the right direction for week 4 is Chiefs wide receiver Xavier Worthy. Logged a full practice for the second straight day this week, Wednesday and Thursday. Again, he suffered a dislocated shoulder after week 1 or during week 1. Missed the past couple of weeks. Trending toward a return, though, for week 4 for Kansas City against the Baltimore Ravens. So they could certainly use Worthy on a struggling Chiefs offense. Also in that game will be Ravens tight end Isaiah Likely, at least maybe. Limited in practice again on Thursday. Likely has logged limited practices all last week and this week, but did not play last week as he continues to recover from a foot injury that he suffered during the offseason. It's anybody's guess at this point if Likely goes on Sunday. And even if he does go, he's not a very trustworthy guy for fantasy at the moment. Cowboys are getting some help on defense. Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs, their starting tandem of cornerbacks, both fully practiced on Thursday. So they're looking like they'll make their return against the Green Bay Packers. I don't know how much that matters. Dallas's defense has been pretty bad so far this year. And then a couple of offensive line injury updates. Eagles right tackle Lane Johnson, Bucks left tackle Tristan Wirfs, both fully practicing on Thursday. Wirfs has been out, has not played yet this season, but appears to be tracking toward a return. Lane Johnson missed a good amount of the Eagles' Week 3 win over the Rams with a stinger, but is also trending toward playing. These two teams play each other this week, so both offensive lines getting a boost. If Lane can go for Philly and if Wirfs can go for Tampa. Evan Engram fully practiced today. He is not really on the fantasy radar at this point. I mean, there's probably somebody on the wire that is a little bit more trustworthy than Engram right now. All right, those are all of the injury updates that I have for today. There's probably a lot of West Coast teams whose practice reports haven't come in just yet. We'll get those possibly before kickoff tonight. I'll keep an eye out and see if we get any of them. But that about does it for injury updates for now. Just a quick run through at this time for Seattle and Arizona as far as who's in your lineup and who's out of your lineup. For Arizona, Kyler's a low-end QB1. You probably don't have a better option. And I did put a video out about Trey Benson yesterday, if you're interested in checking that out. But as that pertains to Kyler, it's certainly possible that Arizona leans a little bit more on the pass and throwing the ball, not just tonight, but in general this year with the loss of their starting running back. Whether Trey Benson is ready to take on a full-time bell cow workload, we're going to find out. This can't be a committee with Benson and Amari DiMercato. Benson has to be the one to kind of take the reins in this backfield. Whether he is able to do so or not, that starts tonight. But that could mean the Cardinals lean on throwing the ball a little bit more than they normally would have. Kyler, low-end QB1. Speaking of Trey Benson, I'm putting him in the you probably should find a way to get him into your lineup category. Yes, it's a short week. Yes, it's a division opponent. Never really feel great about these situations on Thursday night. Never feel great about Thursday night in general. It always feels like it's a clunkier, sloppier game just because teams have less time to prepare and recover for these games. Nevertheless, Benson should be looking at he's probably looking at 65 to 70, maybe upwards of 75% of the snaps, and probably somewhere in the 60 to 65% of touches and opportunities outlook for this evening. So Benson I'm not ready to rank him, as a slam dunk RB1 just yet, but I think he's a top 15 option on the week. Therefore, find a way to get him into your lineup. Kenneth Walker, same wavelength. Can't rank him as a clear-cut RB1, but Charbonnet is banged up. He will go in this game. Perhaps the fact that he didn't play in Week 3 means Charbonnet sees a little bit more work than you might expect at Walker's expense. But Walker's racked up a couple of touchdowns in the early portion of the season. I think we have to go back to him as an RB2. But there might be a little bit of downside with Walker tonight. Again, short week on the road, and Charbonnet is back. But I don't think you could take Walker out of your lineup. You'd have to have some really, really good options at running back to consider pivoting off of Walker tonight. So he can go in your lineup as an RB2. Trey McBride, obviously, is not coming out of your tight end spot. And then there's Marvin Harrison Jr. On one hand, if he does his job last week, he's coming off a massive performance, and we're talking about him as a no-brainer in your lineup tonight. But he had 2 critical drops, one in the end zone. He left a lot of meat on the bone in week 3. Could have had a massive day. 2 big drops. He's more on the flex radar tonight, Marvin Harrison is. If you've got some really good wide receiver options, maybe you drafted well at wide receiver, maybe maybe you got Keenan Allen late. You could move off of Marvin Harrison. Obviously, if you drafted Marvin Harrison high and the receiver depth that you have isn't super strong, then you may have to just go ahead and fire him up and hope for the best. Hopefully, Harrison's got a short memory and is able to bounce back quickly. If that's the case for you. So he's more on the flex radar, not as much as a clear-cut start for me. It's like, once again, Marvin Harrison Jr. leaves us wanting more. There's a lot of weeks where Kyler leaves us wanting more as far as throwing the ball to Marv, but then he throws the ball to Marv and Marv drops it. So it's like, I don't know how much longer we have to wait on Marvin Harrison to truly explode. So flex radar tonight. If your receiver depth is lacking, sure, go with him. But if your receiver depth is strong and you want to leave him on your bench, I can hardly blame you. On Seattle's side, just talked about Kenneth Walker. Should be in your lineup as an RB2. Sam Darnold is playing pretty well, but I'm still not ready to put him in as anything more than a super flex option. And again, if you do start Sam Darnold in Superflex tonight, put him in your quarterback spot. Unless your other quarterback is Kyler, then it doesn't matter. Leave that Superflex spot open for somebody playing on Sunday or Monday. If you have a Justin Fields and you're waiting on injury information, or Jaden Daniels and you're waiting on injury information, or Brock Purdy and you're waiting on injury information. Although Brock Purdy practiced, I believe, at least in a limited fashion today and took the QB1 reps. So Purdy trending toward a return. Sam Darnold, super flex only, I think, at this particular moment in time, but he is playing well enough where he can be started in 2 quarterback leagues or super flex leagues. You are definitely firing up his wide receiver 1. Jackson Smith-Njigba looks like not just the Seahawks clear-cut wide receiver 1, but he looks like a top 8 wide receiver rest of season. I think he's 2nd in catches and 3rd in yards on the season. So, yeah, there's not a whole heck of a lot to talk about here. Smith-Njigba's a stud. He's in your lineup. That's probably where it ends as far as the starts for Seattle. Zach Charbonnet, much like Marvin Harrison, is on the flex radar. I do think Charbonnet has a sneaky chance to lead the team in carries tonight. Didn't play week 3. Seattle's opponent was the New Orleans Saints. Maybe they were kind of holding Charbonnet out. Maybe I'm just throwing some stuff at the wall and maybe it'll stick. I don't know. But with them playing on a short week this week on Thursday, maybe that was an opportunity that they felt that they could use to get Charbonnet right. Hold him out of a week 3 game against the Saints that turned into an easy Seattle victory. Get him ready for a division game on a short week. It wouldn't surprise me to see Charbonnet lead the team in carries tonight. He's not going to get targets. Charbonnet is not really a factor in the receiving game. That's where Walker can, we can kind of bank on him for some fantasy production, for some consistent fantasy production. But I think Charbonnet could lead this backfield in carries tonight. That puts him on the flex radar. But obviously he is a little volatile coming off of injury. We don't know for sure that his workload is guaranteed. If you're hurting at running back or hurting at depth in general, you could fire up Charbonnet, but hopefully your roster is strong enough where you can kind of leave him on ice for one more week and see what that looks like. Cooper Kupp, not viable. Michael Wilson, not viable. Any Seattle tight end, not viable. All right, that covers practice reports, injury updates, and general thoughts on the guys going in tonight's matchup. So, it is time to go to the chat, and it is time to talk shop. What's going on, Crumply Heads? Good to see you. And everybody, thank you guys for coming in and taking some time and hanging out. Just real quick, let me go over my spiel, and then I'll get after it. No matter when they are received, member questions will get answered in priority order and out of order. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. If you are interested in becoming a member of the channel and getting your questions answered at a much faster rate, first link in the description of this live stream and all videos and streams on the channel. You could also send a super. That would also be a line jumper and a way to get your question prioritized and responded to faster, potentially with a little bit more thoroughness. If you are not a member and you do not send a super, I will still answer your question, but I ask for patience as I work through member questions and supers as they come in, even if they show up after your questions are submitted. Whether you are a member or not, if you are enjoying the stream, the conversation, all that good stuff, I just ask that you like the stream. That helps me out for algorithm purposes. I don't see a question from Crumply Heads, so we're just going to go ahead and get after it. Would I trade Travis Hunter and Fannin for Jake Ferguson? I can't think of a reason why I wouldn't at this point. Hunter has been disappointing. That doesn't mean that he can't bounce back, but obviously the early returns haven't been what we wanted. He's not playing wide receiver at an 80% snap share. He's much more like a part-time wide receiver, playing 50 to 60% of the snaps in each game for Jacksonville thus far. I like Fannin, but he does still split opportunities with David Njoku. Ferguson has that role all to himself for Dallas, and CeeDee Lamb is now on the shelf for probably a minimum of 2 weeks. Not only would I do this deal, but I would probably hold for like one more massive performance and then see what I can turn Jake Ferguson into from there in anticipation of CeeDee and his return to the Cowboys lineup eventually. I would see if Ferguson comes off a big game, I would see, can I turn that into another wide receiver or running back upgrade with, say, another tight end attached in the deal, just to supplant a potential Ferguson trade. Yes, I would do this, and then I would, play Ferguson this weekend, hope he has a big game, and then turn around and see what I can get for him after that point. Try to get more for Ferguson than I gave up to acquire him in anticipation of CeeDee's return to the lineup. So, yes, I would be good with that. And Crumply Head's got a question, so we're going to jump on down and grab this one, especially because it's start-sit that involves Marvin Harrison, who goes tonight. We're picking 4.5 PPR between a lot of difficult dudes to trust. I would probably play those last 3 Crumply Heads. I'm not... I'm going back to the well with Ladd McConkey basically until I have a legitimate reason not to. I'm not, obviously it's a little disappointing, Ladd's start, and the emergence of Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen still being a stud has kind of curtailed McConkey a little bit, but he's still getting volume, he's still getting work, and he's still really good. And he's in a great matchup this weekend. It's going to be anybody's, opportunity any given week in this offense to catch the touchdowns. I've said it. I said it last week. I'll say it this week. I'll say it next week if I have to. The touchdowns will be there at the end of the day for Ladd McConkey. He will get there. He's not going to goose egg on touchdowns for the entire season. I'm going back to the well with Ladd McConkey. I'm going with Jacoby Myers. The Raiders get the Chargers this week? No, they played on Monday Night Football. The Raiders get, who do the Raiders have this week? I should know this. I have Brock Bowers in, multiple high-profile leagues. The Bears. Oh, that's a good matchup. Yeah, I would play Myers. I like banking on J-Mo. I like taking a shot on, the big play anytime that I can. So, I'm good with J-Mo. It comes down to, I guess, Marvin Harrison and Brian Thomas Jr. The only thing I can go off of at this point is both are struggling. Both haven't been very good this year. But I drafted Brian Thomas a round and a half or 2 rounds higher than I drafted Marvin Harrison. So I'm going to go back to the well and look, I said it on Tuesday. I probably said it a couple of times last weekend. We are, a month away from having drafted at this point. Draft capital means little with each passing week. It means less with each passing week. And it's not going to be as much of a determining factor in another couple of weeks or so. That being said, it's still early enough where if I have 2 guys and I feel the same about them both, in this instance, Brian Thomas and Marvin Harrison, both been kind of lackluster, kind of disappointing, I will go back to the well one more time with the guy that I drafted higher. So I guess I would bench Marv from this group. If he goes off tonight, at least you still have plenty of other options to pivot to. If you need a high floor, if you're looking for a floor play, Crumply Heads, you could go Marv and bench J-Mo. I don't want to bench J-Mo, even in a tougher matchup against Cleveland, because I don't know what Marv is capable of. I do know what J-Mo is capable of. J-Mo is capable of making big plays. Yes, he may be quiet. He may have a quiet evening, but he can explode on 2 or 3 passes. And that's all he needs to have a big day. Marv, I want him to be good, but it's been all inconsistencies thus far through a season and change with Marvin Harrison. So, if you want to play the floor, then bench J-Mo. I think I would just bench Marv and play the other guys. McConkey and Myers for sure. And then I think I would go Brian Thomas over Marv again, just because I drafted him higher, and that's like the last metric that I have right now to work off of. And then J-Mo would be the ceiling play. All right, let's see. Back up to the top. Chase Brown for Debo. Let's see. You need a wide receiver. You lost CeeDee Lamb. You have Chase Brown. You have Javonte. You have Jordan Mason. You have Benson, so you got an upgrade there. And you have Bashal Tutin for some additional depth. I don't think I would trade Chase Brown for Debo. Is my audio low? I'm boosting the levels right now. Let me know if that fixes anything. Thank you for the call out. I literally just tested this, man. I tested this before I came in. Hopefully it works. But thank you for the call out. I did just boost the levels. I don't want to give up Chase Brown for Debo. Could you do... If you do Chase Brown, I feel like his name recognition, and I know that, it's a struggle at this point now with the Bengals offense with Jake Browning probably for the rest of the season. I'm wondering if there's any way you can do Chase Brown for Debo plus. Again, I am not married to Chase Brown anymore. He feels like a bit of a lackluster option without Joe Burrow, but you did draft him very high, and when Burrow was healthy, everybody wanted Chase Brown. So I know he's got some appeal and some name recognition. I would try to do Chase Brown for Debo plus. If you can't make that happen, then I may prefer... I would maybe try to offer up like Javonte. I wouldn't offer Mason if you have Aaron Jones. Keep that backfield together, because if Jones comes back, you may regret if you break it up. I would maybe try to do Javonte for Debo. But I would see if you could do Chase Brown for Debo plus first. Sorry about that. Somehow fell out of the room. Okay. Still debating on Mason or Scadaboo. Mason gets the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend in Ireland. Scadaboo gets the backfield to himself against the LA Chargers, which is a tougher matchup. And Mason and the Steelers are don't appear to be a terribly difficult matchup for opposing running backs. They did well against the Patriots last week, but that's because Ramondre and Gibson combined for 3 fumbles. I would probably play Mason. I like Scadaboo quite a bit this week, but I would probably go Mason. I think it's a better matchup, and the Vikings are a better offense. I would go Mason. Yeah, Mason over Scadaboo. But I like both. PPR flex. Now, this is where I would go Scadaboo over Brian Thomas. I can't believe those words just came out of my mouth in the order that they did. Yeah, I would start I would start Camp Scadaboo over Brian Thomas, even in full PPR. Scadaboo's got the backfield to himself. He looks good. He delivered in a tough matchup last week. So I'm not as worried. Yes, it's a tougher matchup. The Chargers look like a great defense right now. So I am a little worried about that. But Scadaboo will catch the ball. He had 6 catches last week. So, if he's struggling to run it, or if the Giants are struggling to run it, then they'll drop back to pass and they'll throw it to him. And I got to imagine a rookie quarterback in Jackson Dart is going to be looking for the check down, the quick outlet, the easy passes in his first career start. So it may not be pretty. I don't know that I expect Scadaboo to necessarily score this week if New York struggles to move the ball in general, but he will get volume, and some of that volume will come in the form of receptions. And then, Brian Thomas it hasn't clicked just yet this year. Brian Thomas versus another struggling wide receiver in Marvin Harrison, which was asked of me earlier. Sure, fine, Brian Thomas. But over a starting running back who looks really good and is going to get all the work from the jump, from the opening snap with Tyrone Tracy on the shelf, yeah, I'll take Scadaboo. I'll take Scadaboo over Brian Thomas. Also, I thought about this a little. I was thinking about this a little bit more in the background in my head. If you can make Chase Brown for Debo happen, straight up, that would be okay. I guess I'm all right with that, just with the downside of Cincinnati's offense. But I would still try to get Debo plus and just sell on Chase Brown's name recognition. But if you do have to do a 1-for-1 swap, I guess I'm okay with that as well. I just wanted to go back to that really quickly. 2 wide receivers in a flex this week in full PPR. Tyreek is in, DK is in, and Jaylen Warren is in. I'm not playing Kupp tonight. I'm not playing Kupp at all right now. He just doesn't have enough of a role. Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt is not practicing. 2 straight days of no practice for Bill. Wandale, this is a tough Chargers defense. I only really want to start Malik Neighbors and Cam Scadaboo here. I don't really want to start anybody else for the Giants. And then Troy Franklin, he came back to earth last week, right? I mean, I'm not playing Troy Franklin over Tyreek Hill or DK Metcalf. And Jaylen Warren is a top 20 option right now. Like maybe not top 20 flex option in full PPR, but he's probably a top 30 option in full PPR. And he's the clear-cut top guy for Pittsburgh. Yeah. We're going Tyreek definitively, we're going Metcalf definitively, and we're going Jaylen Warren definitively. Let's see. Charbonnet, Wandale, or Travis Hunter? I would only start Wandale if it's full PPR, and I'm looking for like maybe an 8 to 10 point output in full PPR. Otherwise, I might just try to take a shot on Charbonnet. Again, I do think there's a chance that Charbonnet leads the backfield in carries tonight. Maybe not overall opportunities because Walker will be the one to get the targets. But I do think Charbonnet could end up with 12 to 15 carries tonight. And could come through with a little bit of volume. If it's standard scoring or half PPR, I would go Charbonnet. If it's full PPR and you want to go Wandale, that's fine. I think we're hoping for tops 8 to 10 points from either guy. And then Travis Hunter, I can't play right now. We need to see him play more for the Jags before I play him in my starting lineup. He's only getting 50 to 60% of the snaps. I see a few questions in the chat. E-Dog, Jeff, sit tight. But Bobby has just joined, so I got to make sure I get to Bobby's question. What's going on, Bobby? 0-3 start. That's tough, but it's not over. Do you feel? Yeah, of course you feel confident in Trey McBride. He's either tight end 1 or tight end 2 in rankings every single week. So yeah, you fire up McBride with confidence tonight. And then for the rest of your squad, I would probably play those. I would play those 3 running backs. I would play Jacobs against Dallas. I would play Javonte on the other side against Green Bay. That's a tough matchup, but they are at home, and Dallas is looking for other guys are going to have to pick up the slack in CeeDee Lamb's absence. That maybe Javonte sees an extra target or 2, and then I would play Kamara. It is difficult to trust him right now, just because of how bad the Saints' offense is, but he should get volume. So I think I would lean on Kamara once again. And then for your 2 wide receivers, you have to play Jefferson. And then I would probably play Sutton against Cincinnati on Monday night. Yeah. Justin Jefferson is obviously a little difficult to trust right now, given the quarterback situation. And it's not he's going to see Jalen Ramsey over in Ireland, but it's Justin Jefferson. You gotta play him, I think. Tech gets the Patriots. Sutton gets the Bengals at home. I think I got to play Sutton after last week's performance. Tet looks really good. But I don't think I can play him ahead of Cortland Sutton right now. I would play your 3 running backs, Jacobs, Javonte, Kamara, and then I would plan to go Jefferson and Sutton. Luckily, none of these guys outside of McBride go tonight, Bobby, so we can come back over the weekend and take another look if we feel like we need to. But that's where I would go. I would go Jacobs, Javonte, Kamara, Jefferson, Sutton. And we do have Saturday to go through it, which reminds me, Saturday, start sit live stream, 5 p.m. Eastern. I do normally host Sunday live streams, but I do not know that I will have one this weekend because of the Ireland game, the Dublin game, which takes place 9:30 Eastern. So keep that space open, that spot open for us to all watch the game. Maybe I can do a quick one after it's over. I will try to squeeze it in if I can, but there will not be a typical regularly scheduled Sunday morning start sit stream due to the Dublin game. Just FYI. But I will be here Saturday. All right. Keeping it moving. Pick 2. Charbonnet, Travion, Chuba, Ollie Gordon? Is that Ollie Gordon? I can't start Ollie Gordon right now. Chuba and Travion. Again, Charbonnet might lead the Seattle backfield in carries tonight. But he is a bit risky having missed week 3. We don't know definitively what his workload will be. And it is a short week. It's not necessarily a short week for Charbonnet since he missed the game on Sunday, but it is a short week for the rest of the team. So, there is a little bit of downside there. I would probably go Henderson. His opportunity could be on the rise because Ramondre fumbled twice last week, and Antonio Gibson also fumbled for the Patriots against Pittsburgh last week. So this could be Travion's opportunity, and he did lead the backfield in opportunities after that took place for the Patriots. So we could see increased opportunities for Travion this weekend. And then, Chuba hasn't been great this year. He is still... the Panthers are paying him to be their RB1. They're going to keep going back to him. And he is the clear-cut 1A, which is the only name of this list that you can say that about. So I would play Chuba, and I would roll the dice on Travion Henderson. I don't hate Charbonnet tonight, but again, he is a little risky. We don't know what he's going to do having missed week 3. Tyreek or Pearsall? I mean, we have to play Tyreek, right? I mean, we have to play Tyreek. Quiet week 1, has bounced back nicely the past couple of weeks. Is still a top dog. Is still a clear wide receiver 1. His team's clear wide receiver 1. I like Ricky Pearsall a lot. I think he's going to have a lot of production this year. Jawan Jennings in and out of the lineup. George Kittle is still probably going to miss a couple another weeks. Brandon Ayuk is not close to returning. They just gave us that update earlier today. I like Pearsall quite a bit. I want to start him wherever I can, but I can't put him in the lineup over Tyreek Hill. And then Kelsey or Hunter Henry. I guess I'll go back to the well with Kelsey one more time. I know Hunter Henry had a 2-touchdown performance last week. I don't know that I necessarily want to chase those touchdowns. It's not a bad matchup against Carolina, so if you want to chase the touchdowns, you can. You can go for it. I may go Kelsey, though. I think Xavier Worthy's return actually helps Kelsey. It takes the defense's focus off of Kelsey a little bit. It requires them to look at keep an eye on Worthy, even if he is kind of limited in his return. I probably slightly lean Kelsey. I'm trying to double check my levels to see if I can see if the audio volume is any better. Let me take a look at this. See if this is all right. It is a little quiet. Okay. Let me try to boost this a little bit. Should be a little better now. Okay. So, yeah, Tyreek over Pearsall, and for me, Kelsey over Hunter Henry. It's close, but I would go Kelsey. What's going on, Dog? Good to see you. Let's see. London, Pickens, Allen. London, Pickens, Allen, Kamara in one of the two flexes. Yeah, no, this looks good. That's probably the direction that I would go in. This is the direction I would go in. I wouldn't make any changes to this, Sport Dog. Yeah, it looks good. Looks good. London's been disappointing, but we have to go back to the well with him. It's going to take a couple more weeks before I decide I'm not in on Drake London anymore. I got to stay with him. for at least a few more weeks. Pickens, Cowboys wide receiver 1. Keenan Allen's been great. McCaffrey, Warren, layups. Yeah. No, it looks good, Sport Dog. I'm good with that. I got a super from Tyler. Appreciate that, Tyler. Thank you so much. Appreciate the support. Dobbs, Wicks, is that Sanders and Godwin? Oh, boy. This is either a deep league or you got crushed by the injury bug, my friend. Dobbs and Wicks are both at least in a spectacular matchup against the Cowboys. Now, Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland are both practicing in full. I think they both missed the game for Dallas last week. So obviously it would help if it would help their defense if both of them are back. It would give them a boost if both of them are back. This is still a difficult defense to trust, though, and a defense that you want to, on the flip side, you want to target. You want to target the Cowboys when you can. Their pass rush is anemic, so there's only so much a good cornerback can do when they have to cover a professional wide receiver for more than 5, 6, 7 seconds. So they're both in good matchups. You also have Ayamanor. First of all, I will say this. I don't want to play Godwin this week. And that's even if he plays. We don't even know if he's going to play. And if he does, it'll be his first game action since like week 9 of last year. I don't trust that situation for Godwin. So I wouldn't play him. I mean, Sanders, I mean, he's you might see a little more run. He might see a little more run without CeeDee Lamb if they're looking for they're looking for other guys, everybody to step up in some way, shape, or form. So, you could see that playing out a little bit, but he's still a backup running back and not that good. I would probably go Dobbs here, to be honest, Tyler. I guess Dobbs or Ayamanor. The problem with Ayamanor is the Titans' offense is just impossible to trust week over week. They got a rookie quarterback who's learning the ropes, and the offense in general doesn't have a lot of top flight options. They don't really pose that much of a threat to most NFL defenses on a drive-by-drive basis. So anything Ayamanor does at this point right now, and Ayamanor looks good. He's a great dynasty option, and I certainly like him enough for as a redraft stash. It's just I have a hard time firing him up right now. I think I would go Dobbs. Obviously Jaden Reed on injured reserve, not coming back anytime soon, and it's a spectacular matchup against the Dallas Cowboys. And it's a bounce back game for the Packers. They lost a game that they should have won in week 3 against the Cleveland Browns. You have to imagine they're going to come into this game fired up, ready to go. They are a better overall team than the Dallas Cowboys. Even on the road, you expect the Packers to go in there and win the game, handle their business. So Jordan Love needs to play well in order for that to happen. Dobbs could be his wide receiver 1 any given week with Jaden Reed out. I'll take Dobbs. I'll take his floor here. I'll take his floor here and hope for the best and hope that the good matchup turns into some good fortune for you and for your fantasy starting lineup. I think Dobbs would be my official answer here over Wicks, over Sanders, over Godwin, and I appreciate the additional super. Thank you so much. And over Ayamanor as well. Romeo Dobbs would be my suggestion here, Tyler. Good matchup. Could lead the team in targets any given week. And then let me get to Bobby's question. Again, I appreciate everybody's patience. I will get to your questions, but I got to get to members and supers first. That is a perk. My thoughts on Golden this week, it's an opportunity for a breakout, but I'm not playing him over any of those names. I'm not playing him over Sutton. I'm not playing him over Pittman, and I'm not playing him over Devontae Smith. While I am excited about Golden and still excited about his outlook and his potential, he hasn't done it yet. It is a great matchup. This would be an opportunity for him to, to make a statement, make a name for himself on Sunday Night Football. And he very well could. I can't play him over established vets right now. It hasn't happened yet. The matchup looks great on paper. Can he actually do it on the field? Can he deliver on the field? We want to believe that he can, but we're only 4 games into his NFL career, and we haven't seen it yet. So there's no telling if a good matchup is going to be enough to get Matthew Golden going. So, excited about him? Yes. Would I maybe take a shot on him as a cheap play in DFS contests or DFS lineups this weekend? Sure. Fine. I'll take a shot. But redraft, I'm not there yet. I'm not there with Matthew Golden, even though the matchup is good. Very good. Maybe the best in the league. And then Ayamanor or Golden, like rest of season. I mean, right now it has to be, I would say it still has to be Golden. Team's first round pick. There's a need for him to step up with Jaden Reed on injured reserve. I like Ayamanor. I like Ayamanor in Dynasty quite a bit. He'll have some redraft appeal here and there, potentially more consistently as the season goes on, but not right now. I know Golden hasn't done anything, and Ayamanor has done a little bit more than Golden, but I'm still willing to bet on the first-round talent and, the better quarterback play. Jordan Love is better right now, this year in 2025, than Cam Ward is. So I'll take Golden. I'll continue to take Golden, even though it's been Ayamanor who's been the one who's actually produced, at least in some capacity so far. And then you got Marks and Tootin. Okay, yeah, those are good pickups. Yeah, so hang on to those guys. And as far as other running backs in mind, let me know who else is on the wire. But I do like both of those guys as stashes. You're not going to use either one of them probably before week 7 or 8. But they are good stashes, Sport Dog. Let me know who else is available on waivers, and we can take a look. But yeah, I quite like those guys as stashes. I probably will tell you to just keep those guys. Okay. Back up to where I left off. Flex Benson or Dobbins. Dobbins gets the Bengals on Monday Night Football, and Benson goes tonight against Seattle. Dobbins. I want to play Benson, but you've got some really good options. And I do think, obviously Bijan's a slam dunk, but I do think Amarian Hampton is a slam dunk as well in a beautiful matchup against the Giants and Najee Harris done for the season. As for Dobbins, he's the bell cow right now. I don't know if it'll stay that way all season long, but that's the case right now, and he looks good. Dobbins has been playing well. If you remember, he did get off to a great start last year before falling off a cliff. So I don't know that will or won't happen to J.K. Dobbins once again. And it didn't take long. By week 4 or 5, Dobbins was like, what the hell happened? We're watching a completely different player from the one that we saw in weeks 1 and 2. So, can Dobbins avoid what happened last year this season? He'll have a great chance to prove that on Monday night against Cincinnati, because I have to imagine the Broncos are going to continue to go to him until he gives them a reason not to. Again, Benson, great opportunity ahead of him rest of season. It is his first opportunity to start, and it is coming on a short week, so there is a little bit of gray area here with how much DeMercado gets involved. Do they give some opportunities to Bam Knight just to give them some different looks and help keep the backfield fresh on a short week? I think there's I like Benson a lot, again, as a top 15 option at the position, but I think there's a question or two attached to Benson right now that there isn't attached to J.K. Dobbins. So I will say Dobbins. It's incredibly close. It's incredibly close, but I would go Dobbins. And then DJ Moore, J-Mo, Waddle, Shakir. Waddle gets the Jets. J-Mo gets the Browns. DJ Moore, the Bears get the Raiders this week, I think. Yeah, the DJ Moore gets the Raiders. J-Mo gets the Browns. Waddle gets the Jets. And Shakir gets the New Orleans Saints. I would probably go Waddle and DJ Moore for some like PPR volume. I don't know if this is PPR, actually. I don't know. I don't see the scoring. I don't see a potential scoring. But I would probably go DJ Moore. I would probably go DJ Moore, and then, I would probably go, like, if you need a floor play, I would go Waddle. If you think you can get away with a floor play, I would go Waddle. If you need to be aggressive and swing for the fences, then that's J-Mo, but J-Mo's floor is lower than Waddle's. So, floor play, I would go DJ Moore against the Raiders. Nothing scary about that matchup. And then I would go, if I feel like I need a floor play, I would go Waddle. That's the safe play. If I feel like I need to be aggressive and swing for the fences, and potentially deal with a low floor at the expense of shooting for a high ceiling, then I would go J-Mo. Yep. DJ Moore, Waddle floor, J-Mo ceiling. Start Swift, Coleman, or Wandale. What is DeAndre Swift's injury status right now? Because I think he was, and Zach Charbonnet was just listed as healthy. No surprise, he was listed expected to play earlier today. Swift, I think I saw, was on the injury report. What's the latest on this? Limited for the second straight day on Thursday. So back-to-back limited practices. If Swift plays, then I would go Swift. If Swift plays, I would go Swift, because there's nothing particularly scary about that matchup. And while he hasn't been great, he is coming through with some volume. I would probably go Swift. If Swift is out, then I would probably just pivot to Wandale and hope that you can come through with some PPR volume. Yeah. I would go, DeAndre Swift if he plays, Wandale if DeAndre sits, since it's full PPR. And then real quick, is it worth keeping Rashee Rice? Yes, it's worth Yes. Keep Rashee Rice. If you're 0-3, Bobby, and you're, if you feel like you need somebody that can help you now, I would try to trade Rashee Rice to one of the top teams in the league and get somebody from them who can help you now. But don't get a guy that you're just going to put on your bench. If you're going to trade Rashee Rice, do it for somebody who you know definitively you're going to start every week. Because when Rashee Rice comes back, you are definitively starting him every week. If I'm 3-0 or 2-1 with lots of points scored, and I'm top 3, 4, even 5 in the league right now, I probably have interest in stashing Rashee Rice because I've given myself a cushion. I've built up a bit of a margin for error for myself. And even if I lose a couple of games between now and when Rice's suspension is lifted, I'm still in good shape when he returns. So, yeah, I'm keeping Rashee Rice. But if you're feeling the heat, if you're feeling like your team is missing something and you're 1-2 or 0-3 and the start of the season hasn't gone the way you were hoping and you need somebody that can help you now, Rashee Rice is a candidate to trade to a team closer to the top of the league and get something back from them. If they try to lowball you because, they still have to wait 2 weeks for suspension, then keep him. Don't sell for cheap, and definitely don't drop him. Because I think he is a slam dunk in your starting lineup every week when he returns. And on the flip side to that, if you're sitting pretty, if you're 3-0 or you're 2-1, and you're looking for ways to upgrade your roster, go see what it will cost to trade for Rashee Rice, especially if the Rice owner is 1-2 or 0-3 and struggling alone and could use somebody that can help them now, that can help them this week and next week, something Rice can't do. So, yes, it is worth keeping Rashee Rice or trying to trade him to a team at the top of the league. DK or Wandale in full PPR, Crumbly Heads? I'm going DK. He's still that team's wide receiver 1. He's been difficult to trust, and it's a tough matchup against Minnesota. But I think I would go Metcalf. I mean, at least he will command a wide receiver 1 target share. Wandale is always going to play second fiddle to Malik Neighbors. I get it if you're worried about the matchup. The Vikings are a tough matchup, and DK has been pretty disappointing so far. But I would play him over somebody like Wandale Robinson. Okay, back up to where I left off. Hopefully you're not already screwed. We can try to fix this. Start 2 between Harrison, Golden, Iamanor, Kirk, and Mooney. So I would definitely play Harrison tonight of this group. He's difficult to trust, but you drafted him high, certainly a lot higher than any of these other guys. Golden hasn't shown anything yet. Iamanor looks good, but he hasn't earned it yet. I'm not there yes, Marvin Harrison's been disappointing, but I'm not at the point where I'm suggesting start, Alec Iamanor over Marvin Harrison. Not yet. Kirk only just came back. Mooney only just came back, and the Falcons' offense doesn't look great right now. I would go Harrison, and then you might as well take a shot. You might as well swing for the fences. I'll play Matthew Golden in this instance. And then at least you can just root for a big play to happen against a bad defense. The Cowboys are getting cooked by everybody. So you could take a shot on Golden in this scenario. Yeah, you could take a shot on Golden in this scenario. I would play Harrison tonight and hope for the best, and I would swing for the fences and chase a potential big play in Golden. This would be the matchup for him to get it done. And then, do you trade Mooney or Hunter Henry for Nick Chubb? I mean, Nick Chubb doesn't do a ton for me. You could try. At the very least, you're not breaking the bank. You're not giving up anything of super significance. You're also not really getting anything at this particular time of Nick Chubb's career of significance. Nick Chubb is not the Nick Chubb of old. I know we all know that, but it bears repeating. When you're considering trading for the guy. I don't know who else you could potentially target as far as trade options. I mean, could you do it? It's not great. Let me preface what I'm about to say. It's not great, the situation, but could you go check in on the person who has Chase Brown and see if they're disgruntled and are willing to sell low on him and get anything in return? Neither of these guys are probably going to get it done. You're not going to be able to make it happen, but you might as well ask and see, like, okay, if he's available, am I willing to bump my offer up from Mooney or Hunter Henry? Yeah, Nick Chubb doesn't do a ton for me, to be completely honest. But if it's your best option to fill in a need, then you can do it. I would then try to stay aggressive, though, and see if you can flip Nick Chubb and after whenever it is that he has a good game. Hopefully it's this weekend. Hopefully Nick Chubb has a good weekend. And, in theory, if you do the trade, you could try to turn around and flip Chubb again after this week for a better return than the one that you gave up. I'm just not crazy about Nick Chubb. He doesn't really move the needle for me at this point in his career, especially with how bad Houston's offensive line is. And then, Bateman's available on waivers. This was for Charbonnet, Wandale, Travis Hunter. No, I would probably just play. I would probably still just play, Charbonnet for the floor play. Because who are you dropping? Who are you dropping to pick up? Who are you dropping to pick up Bateman? That would be my other question. Who are you dropping to pick up Bateman? I may just stick with Charbonnet. What's going on, Theo? Kyler or Herbert? Herbert. He doesn't have... Actually, this year... He doesn't have the rushing ceiling that Kyler has, but game for game, Herbert appears to be able to hang with some solid upper echelon quarterbacks who scramble and who run. And on top of that, Herbert's the much better quarterback. He's got the deeper collection of talent to throw the football to. And it's a great matchup, even though they're on the road. I would go Herbert. I would go Herbert. Go with the top quarterback. Yeah. Herbert is better than Kyler. Herbert has better top to bottom weapons than Kyler. I trust Herbert more than I trust Kyler. Herbert. Trey Benson as a first. So first of all, first things first, and this goes for everybody. If you do end up playing Trey Benson tonight, or Marvin Harrison or Zach Charbonnet, put them in your position spots. Leave the flex spots open for guys who are going to play on Sunday or Monday. Maintain your flexibility, pun intended. Maximize your flexibility. If you decide to play Trey Benson tonight, put him in a running back spot. Don't leave him in the flex. You never know what random things can happen between now and Sunday that changes the course of a player's availability or status, and therefore what that means for your lineup. If you play Benson in your flex and one of your running backs is suddenly not available to play on Sunday, then then you have to plug in a running back, even if your best alternate option is a wide receiver. Leave the flex spot open. Play your running backs in their positional spots and wide receivers. That being said, I would play Benson over I think I would play Benson over Breece Hall. Let me just pull this up real quick. Breece had a great day week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers and has since turned into a pumpkin. 10 for 29 week 2, 9 for 21 week 3. He had 4 catches last week, but for just 31 yards. I'll take a shot on Benson tonight. I'll take a shot on Benson. And then, if you're struggling between Breece Hall and David Montgomery, I would probably go Breece against the Miami Dolphins. David Montgomery was incredible in week 3. This is a tougher matchup against the Cleveland Browns. So I will temper expectations on DeMont. Yeah. I would play Benson and Hall, but I would play Benson ahead of Hall. And then what? Tet or Breece? Tet gets the Patriots, potentially seeing Christian Gonzalez. Breece again sees the Miami Dolphins on Monday night. Let's see. I almost forgot. Ted McMillan did not practice yesterday. Is he practicing today? He was officially limited today with a calf injury, which puts him on track to play. I think I would go Tet over Breece. He had a lackluster game last week, but if he can avoid Christian Gonzalez, then this is a pretty solid matchup. Breece is in a great matchup against the Miami Dolphins. So he is in play as a floor option. But I think I would lean Tet. He's his team's wide receiver 1. Start 1 running back, 2 receivers, and 2 flex. I would play Wilson and Adunze as your 2 wide receivers. And I would play those first three names at running back. Benson can be the running back for tonight. You can put Benson in the RB spot and put Kyron and Mason in your flex spots. I wish I could tell you to start Scatabo. You just don't have. You have some good options here, and you don't have enough roster spots or starting lineup spots anyway. So it's a numbers crunch. I would play Garrett Wilson and Rome Odunze as your 2 receivers. I would play Trey Benson as your running back, and I would play Kyron and Jordan Mason as your flex options. It is difficult to trust Chris Olave, given the current landscape and situation in New Orleans. And for Scatabo, it's just a numbers crunch. There's a lot of good options here. Hold on a second. Bobby, you have an offer to give up Jacobs, Jefferson, and Rashee Rice for Taylor, Neighbors, and T. Higgins. T. Higgins doesn't excite me a whole heck of a lot at this point without Joe Burrow. So this kind of makes it a 3-for-2 trade, but I'd rather have Taylor than Jacobs. I'd rather have Neighbors than Justin Jefferson. It's probably close. It's pretty close, but I'd rather have Neighbors. And I much prefer to have I prefer to have Taylor than Jacobs. I prefer slightly to have Neighbors than Jefferson. I would say I definitively prefer Rashee Rice to having T. Higgins. And then, of course, you have Higgins for this week if you chose to use him. I might say yes to this. I don't really want to give up Rashee Rice, but if you're 0-3 and you need pieces, you need to string some wins together, then Rashee Rice doesn't do any good for you if you're 1-5. I would see what are their other wide receivers. I'd be curious to know, Bobby, who their other wide receivers are other than T. Higgins. And I would maybe try to counter if there's another name in there that I like or that I prefer to T. Higgins. But this would be a fine trade to make. You're getting the RB1. You're trading a low-end RB1 for the RB1. That's an upgrade. You're trading Jefferson for Neighbors. I do think that's a slight upgrade, I think. I mean, Jackson Dart may throw a wrench into that, to be fair. And then Rice for Higgins, I much prefer to have Rashee Rice, to be completely honest. So I'd be curious to know who their other options are, wide receiver, and see if we can counter with anything. Full PPR, 1 point for first down. Sutton, Tyreek, Pickens. I mean, I probably am going Tyreek. Pickens is now the Cowboys, unquestioned wide receiver 1 for as long as CD is out. Bengals are still a favorable matchup for opposing wide receivers. Sutton and Tyreek. I would go Sutton and Tyreek. Pickens is in a great spot. It's just he's a de facto wide receiver 1 tonight. Tyreek and Sutton are normal, typical wide receiver 1s for their teams. So I would say Tyreek and Sutton. Let's see. Flex Pollard or Marks. I'll go to Pollard for another week. It's not great. I know that. But he is still the unquestioned lead dog in the Titans backfield. He's going to get volume. Marks is going to have to do it on extreme efficiency. And in this Texans offense, with that offensive line in his 4th career game, I don't know how confident I am to lean on Woody Marks. But Tony Pollard at least is his team starter and should handle most of the opportunities. So I'll play Pollard. Yeah, I'll play Pollard. Do you trade a Dunze for James Cook? You have Smith and Jigba, you have Amon-Ra, and you have Pickens. And you just have Pollard and Henderson. Yeah, I would do this if you can make it happen. I would prefer to trade Pickens because CeeDee Lamb will come back in a few weeks. But if you can't make it done, if you can't make that happen and it has to be a Dunze for James Cook, I'm surprised they're not asking for Smith and Jigba or Amon-Ra. Not that I'm advocating that you trade either one of those guys, but that would be what I would be asking for if I had James Cook and I was looking to dangle him. I would not be looking to get Rome Odunze for James Cook. I'd be looking to get Smith and Jigba. So I know Rome is off to a blazing hot start, but Jigba's like a top dog right now. That's who I would be asking for if I had James Cook. Yes, if you can make this happen, I would do it. If you can acquire James Cook and give away Rome Odunze, yeah, I would. James Cook looks like a top 3 running back for fantasy right now. Yes, I would do that. I would do that trade. Yeah. This is a classic. This is a great example of I'm addressing a need to make my team better. I'm not necessarily trying to win a trade. I'm trying to make my team better. And if it means that I'm giving somebody up that, is good and popular, but doesn't help me as much as they may help somebody else, then so be it. Because I'm getting something that does directly make my team better. So this is a good example of that type of trade. I hope you can pull that off. I hope you can pull that off. Start 1. Worthy, Diggs. Worthy's tough to trust because it's going to be his first game back after missing a couple of weeks. But that's probably where I would go. I know Christian Kirk returned to the Texans lineup last week. He played 67% of the snaps. He had 8 targets. He turned it into 3 catches for 25 yards. So the 8 targets is what's going to have everybody excited, is the instant usage. I think I would go Worthy here. Yes, he has missed time, but we drafted him high. He's a budding star. That appears to be the case anyway. Kirk is older. Multiple seasons recently ended short because of major injury. Worthy himself is coming off injury, but just a 2-week absence and a lot younger than Christian Kirk. I'll take Worthy. The Chiefs desperately need him. If he's out there, they're going to be looking for him. They're going to be looking for ways to get him the ball. And I'm not considering Stephon Diggs right now. He's not even a full-time player. Stephon Diggs is not a full-time player right now. I don't want to start him. Oh, Bobby, see if you can swindle away McConkey, because McConkey is off to a slow start. Somebody might be your league mate might be disgruntled with him. I would try that instead of T. Higgins. If you can get Ladd, even if you have to throw in like Matthew Golden to complete the deal, if you can get McConkey instead of T. Higgins, and even if you have to throw in like a Matthew Golden or something to make it happen, or a Michael Pittman, I would I would see if you can get T. Higgins out of that deal and put McConkey in. And it's not unfair. McConkey's off to a slow start. You can try to take advantage of a buy low window. The buy low window for Ladd McConkey is right now. Get on board before that window slams shut, because eventually it will. I would try that. I would try McConkey instead of T. And you can fight back. Like, you can argue your case. I'm giving you Justin Jefferson and I'm giving you Rashee Rice. Yeah, you got to wait a little while, but he's going to be awesome when he comes back. I don't want T. Higgins. He's catching the ball from Jake Browning, and Jake Browning stinks. Give me Lab McConkey. I would try that, Bobby. I would try to swap in, and if they're like that's too much, then say I'll give you Michael Pittman to sweeten the deal, to add to do the 4 for 3 or whatever, and then that would theoretically free up a roster spot for you to pick up somebody on waivers that you like. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. Do you start Baker or pick up Caleb? And you would have to drop a tight end to make it happen. I think I would just play Baker. Caleb's off to a great start. But this is, he's going to play not the Cowboys this week. So let's see how he does against a defense that is actually garnering anything as far as positivity. Because the Cowboys are not that. They're getting shredded in the media right now, and rightfully so for how, and the transactions and the trade of Micah Parsons and what they did. I mean, they're getting cooked right now. And it's not just the media. The data shows it. The stats show it. The Cowboys' defense is getting killed right now. So kudos to Caleb for making that, for being a part of that and jumping on that ship. Let's see how he does now coming off of that game against the Raiders, who they're not world beaters, but they are a better defense than the Cowboys have. Baker will be without Mike Evans. So there is that. That's a big hit. And Chris Godwin might not be ready to return. So Baker might be throwing the ball to Emeka Egbuka, Sterling Shepard, and then, whatever is left of their skeleton crew of receivers behind Evans and Godwin. I would consider, because I don't want to drop any of these other guys, if Chris Godwin doesn't play, and you'll know this on Sunday or by Sunday, so you can wait if you want to, then I would maybe just drop Baker to pick up Caleb. Hope that Baker puts up some low numbers this weekend. No Mike Evans. If Chris Godwin doesn't play, that's another, one less weapon for him to work with. Could be a rough outing. Could be pedestrian numbers. He could be easy to get back this week is what I'm saying, or after this week. He could be an easy quarterback to reacquire off of waivers. Given his current circumstances and the absence of Evans and Godwin maybe not quite being ready yet. I might just drop Baker for Caleb. I wouldn't drop any of your other players for Baker. For Caleb. But for at least this week and next, I might drop Baker for Caleb. I might. Yeah, I might just drop Baker for Caleb. No Mike Evans, potentially no Chris Godwin. Yeah. You can drop Dak to pick up Rashad Bateman, and you have Lamar. Yeah, okay. In that case, if you have Lamar, then actually I'm a little more interested in you firing up Bateman, because now you have the stack, and you're going to be shooting for the big play, and there's a good chance that a lot of points are scored in this game. It's Chiefs-Ravens. So actually, yeah, if that option is still available to you and you're not locked into playing Charbonnet, yes. Especially since you have Lamar, I would drop Dak. Dak is droppable in one quarterback leagues. No CeeDee Lamb, his ceiling is gone. And if you really want to get him, you can probably reacquire him without much effort, next week or the week after. Yeah, I would pick up Bateman for Dak, and since you have Lamar, I would play Bateman. Yeah. I would play Bateman. I would drop Dak, pick up Bateman, and I would stack Lamar and Bateman. That is what I would do. That's what I would do. 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex, half PPR. Well, Amon-Ra, you're definitely starting. Amon-Ra, you're definitely starting. Nico, you're definitely starting. And then you've got Rome, Keenan, and QJ. And you have Judkins as well. This is a good team. There's a lot of good options here. I would play Benson and Kyron. I would play Benson and Kyron as your running backs. I would play Amon-Ra, I would play Nico Collins, and I would play Rome Odunze as your 3 receivers. And then it kind of comes down to personal preference as your flex, and I would say it's between Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston. I mean, Quentin Johnston is probably the ceiling play. Keenan Allen's a little bit more the floor play, depending on what you think you can get away with. If you think you want to play it safe and 10 to 12 points is enough, then I would go Keenan Allen. If you need to swing for the fences and be a little more aggressive, then I would go Quentin Johnston. That's a personal preference. I don't think you can really go wrong there, to be honest. I think either is viable. It's almost like a dealer's choice. I don't mean to kick the question back to you, but pick your favorite between Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston. Because right now, I don't think you can go wrong. So I would play one of those Chargers wide receivers. If it's half PPR, maybe I take the shot on Quentin Johnston and be a little aggressive. But you know your matchup better than I do. If you feel like you're in really good shape to handle your business this week, maybe you do just fire up Keenan Allen and hope for a floor play. But Amon-Ra, Nico, and Rome definitively. Kyron and Benson going tonight. I would say definitively at running back. And, your favorite Charger wide receiver at the flex. Keenan floor, Quentin Johnston, a little more like ceiling. But either one is fine, really. Either one is fine. It's a good team. It's a good squad. Superflex, start 2, May, Daniel Jones, Kyler Murray. We have a decision that we need to make shortly. I would play... You have three very viable options here. May gets Carolina. That's a great matchup. Kyler obviously going tonight against Seattle. Low-end QB1. And, Daniel Jones is playing incredible right now. This is a tougher matchup against the LA Rams. They have a good defense. They have a good front 7. I am scared to tell you to start Kyler over Daniel Jones. I am not going to lie. I think I would play Drake May. Great matchup. He'll run. Looking a little better recently compared to week 1. I think I would play Drake May. And then, it's between Kyler. It's between Kyler and Danny Dimes. I would say Kyler is your boom-bust play, and Daniel Jones is your floor play. So if you think you need to be aggressive at the potential expense of a bad performance, because that's what Kyler can do, I would go Kyler. But on the flip side, his ceiling is higher. He'll run. He may throw the ball a lot in this matchup. First game for Arizona without James Conner, so they may air it out a lot, more than they normally would. So volume could be in Kyler's favor. And again, if that comes to fruition and he has more dropbacks, he has more pass dems, that increases the chances of the number of scrambles that he has goes up as well. And we get that sweet quarterback rushing production. I will say Kyler is your ceiling play. And then if you think you can play it safe, then I would go Dimes. Daniel Jones has been awesome so far this year. I will caution, it is a tougher matchup this week. The Rams do have a good front 7, and it is a road game. But it's not enough to deter me off of Jones outright with how good he has been. So I'll say May. Kyler is your boom-bust play, shooting for the ceiling, potentially low floor. Daniel Jones is your floor play, if you think you can get away with it. And then pick two between Sutton, Breece Hall, and Benson, probably Sutton and Benson. Probably Sutton and Benson. Breece is in a great matchup, so you could go Breece Monday night against Miami, but he has been a little lackluster the past couple of weeks after a really good week one. If Justin Fields is back for the Jets, that's a boost. That helps, in theory. And again, it's a great matchup, but he's been kind of lackluster. Benson, he's got a chance to show the world tonight what he can do. So if you want to ride that hype and get excited, I can hardly blame anybody. He's a top 15 option for me. So I'm okay with moving forward with Benson. And then Sutton is a clear-cut wide receiver one, as far as he is the clear-cut Broncos wide receiver one. And he's in a great matchup against this. He's in a good matchup too. Yes, Breece Hall's in a good matchup against Miami. Courtland Sutton's in a good matchup against Cincinnati. And that's a home game. So yeah, I'll take Sutton and Benson here. I'll take Sutton and Benson here. Let's see, Bobby working the phones. I really want to know how that trade works out. I would definitely be. I'd be definitely chirping to see if I can get McConkey. I'll say that for any of you. See what it might cost to go get Lab McConkey before the buy low window slams shut. See what it'll cost to get Lab McConkey. Yeah, I know he feels volatile right now with how good Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnson have been, but just to that point, that means you can drive the price lower for anybody who might be panicking on Lab McConkey. I don't know if there are that many people who are panicking on Lab McConkey to the point where they want to sell him. But you might as well ask. Seahawks or Bears defense? The Seahawks are going tonight, shortly. The Bears are going on Sunday, and I believe they're on the road against the Raiders. I mean, Chicago? I guess. I mean, Geno's been a little turnover prone. And the Raiders' offensive line. Oh boy, the Raiders' offensive line is not good. I mean, or they haven't been playing well to this point. Chicago's defense isn't great, but bad offensive line play is a favorable outcome for any defense, or is a favorable positional advantage for any defense. I might take the Bears here, slightly. Seattle, short week. Having to travel. I don't love that as much. I'll take the Bears defense against a shaky Geno Smith and try to take advantage of some sacks and turnovers. I'll take the Bears over Seattle. Start one. Engram, Pitts, Chigakonkwo, and Schultz. Boy. I guess Dalton Kincaid isn't necessarily out there, is he? Or a Hunter Henry. I don't know if Hunter Henry is on waivers. If either one of those guys is on waivers, then I would probably go in that direction. But if they are not available, Pitts, I guess Pitts against Washington. There's nothing particularly scary about Washington's defense. I mean, Dalton Schultz is he's a difficult guy to trust. And now with Christian Kirk back, a lot of intermediate targets are going to get soaked up. I like a Okonkwo. I don't like the Titans offense. And then Evan Ingram, he missed last week. He hasn't really done anything. I can't advocate for Ingram. I think it's got to be Pitts here. I think if Hunter Henry's not available and Dalton Kincaid is not available, in case any one of those guys are still sitting on waivers, you can grab them. If not, I would go Pitts from this group. I would go Pitts from that group. Yep. Let me really quickly, I'm just going to take a quick pause and see if there's any new practice reports that we have from any like West Coast teams that we did not get to at the top of the stream. And right on cue, Twitter is struggling for me. Of course it is. This app used to be so reliable, and now it's just not. All right, I'm going to restart and see if that fixes anything. Let's see. Derwin James and Dante Jackson. Aren't they, I mean, well, Derwin James that's their teammate. So there's nothing to worry about there. I mean, yeah, my answer remains the same. Keenan, floor play. Quentin Johnston is a little bit more boom bust, but I think both are incredibly safe. I'm not sure if I follow because those guys are not going to cover those guys. Yeah. And my answer remains the same. Honestly, pick your favorite because both will be fine or should be fine because they both have been fine to this point. Pick 2, Metcalf, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen. Definitely Keenan Allen of this group. He's been awesome. Metcalf has not been awesome. DJ Moore's been okay. So I guess by that metric, I guess I kind of answered it right there. Keenan Allen's been really good, so fire him up. DJ Moore's been decent. And DK Metcalf has been really disappointing. So I guess by the law of averages, just go ahead and start DJ Moore over DK Metcalf. And let's see if Metcalf can do anything in a tough matchup against Minnesota. On the bench, by the way. Right. No, it's all good. All good. No problems. Yeah, I would go Keenan Allen and I would go DJ Moore. I would go with the player who's been good so far, and I'll go with the player who's been decent so far. And I'll bench the dude who has been disappointing so far. Let's see. Would I do Chuba plus one of the Chargers wide receivers for James Cook? Yeah. Yeah, I would. James Cook's what, the RB2 on the season right now? Or top 3, right? Somebody feel free to fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure behind Jonathan Taylor, it's Taylor, it's McCaffrey, it's Bijan, it's James Cook. I gotta double check where James Cook is as far as the early season production so far. But the point is, Chuba Hubbard is not in that realm, not in that conversation. And while Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnston are great, they've been off to a great start. We don't know if it's sustainable yet, maybe more particularly with QJ because it's his first year doing it. And even if you trade one, you still have the other, and both have been good. So that almost like eliminates a decision that has to be made each week, right? Because your decision is, I'm just going to play James Cook. So, yeah, I would do that. If you can make that happen, I would do that. Yeah. I would do that. And then as far as Pacheco, I'm not dropping Pacheco until I absolutely have to. Because there's probably not somebody, and I know, let's put it this way. He's probably going to be a guy where I'm just going to say, yeah, drop him by like within the next couple of weeks, maybe by like week 7 or 8. Assuming this trend continues. I'm not dropping him yet because it's still early. Running back depth is valuable no matter how you slice it. And if I don't have an immediate move that needs to be made, then I have no need to drop him. Like, you have Chris Godwin, but even if Godwin plays this week, like, make your moves now before that injury designation changes, and then it becomes you have to, you have to drop somebody to activate him in order to have a legal lineup. But, if you set your lineup, if you set your roster up to the point where you don't need to worry about it on Sunday if Godwin's healthy, then you can kind of sandbag him on injured reserve for the weekend and then kind of figure it out next week because you're not going to play him anyway. So you might as well leave him there even if he does get activated. To that point, I'm not dropping Pacheco yet. I will wait until I absolutely have to do it, until I'm given a reason to do it. I'm not going to do it preemptively because what if an injury happens maybe not Pacheco or even Kareem Hunt, but just another running back, and then it's like, well, at least I have a healthy running back as an option for me. I'm not dropping Pacheco yet, even though I get it. He's been bad. I get wanting to, but I wouldn't yet. Sit one. Benson, Montgomery, Genty, Metcalf, Pearsall. DK. DK Metcalf has not been as advertised this year, at least not yet. He has not really been that good. And now he's got a really tough matchup against the Minnesota Vikings over in Dublin. Benson has the backfield to himself tonight, well, other than Amari DiMercato. Montgomery just did his best Derrick Henry impression on Monday Night Football against Derrick Henry. So I can't take Montgomery out of my lineup. Genty I still believe in, and Pearsall I just believe in general. Right now I don't believe in Metcalf. So I'll sit DK. I'll play my running backs, and I will play Ricky Pearsall, who has been way better than DK Metcalf thus far, including with backup quarterback play. I think he cleared 100 yards last week with Mac Jones as his quarterback. Metcalf can't do it with Aaron Rodgers. Not that Aaron Rodgers is what he used to be, but Metcalf is supposed to be the alpha, the wide receiver 1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he is not putting up those numbers. So yeah, I'll bench Metcalf. Yeah, I'll bench Metcalf. All right, let's see if Twitter wants to work for me. Quickly checking to see if we've got any more injury updates from today. Brock Purdy sounds like he's improving. Should be good for Sunday. Terry McLaurin does not currently need surgery, but remains uncertain for Week 4. Jawan Jennings not practicing. Davante Adams did not practice today for the second straight day. So that's something to monitor. If Adams cannot go, be prepared to make alternate plans. I mean, we would need to see Adams. He is a vet, so I'm not completely throwing in the towel on Davante Adams and his Week 4 availability just yet. If he can get a limited practice in on Friday, that would put him on track to play. And Adams is not the type of player at this stage of his career where I'm too worried about how much he practices. He's one of those guys where if he practices in a limited fashion on Friday, that's good enough for me to keep him in the starting lineup. But something to monitor, Davante Adams not practicing for the second straight day this week with a hamstring. So let's keep an eye on that one. Michael Mayer not practicing on Thursday. He's in concussion protocol, so Mayer looking likely to miss a game. Jawan Jennings not practicing, so he could be missing a second straight week. Dyami Brown limited in practice on Thursday for Jacksonville. And that's the latest that we have. That's the latest that we have. Keenan Allen, Hollywood Brown, and DJ Moore for Ladd. Now, this is a little too much. That's a little too rich for my blood. I would want at least like a depth running back, like an RB4 or a wide receiver 4 or 5 to come back in that deal, because Keenan Allen is popping. DJ Moore is still doing his thing, even with all the additions of the Bears offense this offseason and the emergence of Rome Odunze. DJ Moore is still doing his thing. Hollywood Brown's kind of that throw-in, whatever, but it is a third piece that just kind of makes it feel like I'm giving up a little too much. If I could get like an RB4 or a wide receiver 4 or 5 in this deal just to get something back to make it a little bit more of an even swap, then I'm a little more interested. Three for one is a little rich. And I know we're coming up on closer to kickoff, so let me double check any questions that pertain to tonight. The Seahawks defense tonight against Arizona, or the Patriots defense against Carolina. Obviously, Carolina looked great last week. They hung 30 on the Atlanta Falcons, but now they got to go on the road, so that's a little bit of a tougher spot, and I think the Patriots defense is decent. I will take New England over Seattle, who has to travel on a short week tonight on the road. They might be fine. Kyler is certainly prone to making all types of mistakes. But I'll take New England. I'll take New England at home against Carolina. And I'll take my chances against that Panthers offensive line that is still very banged up, missing a few starters to injury. I'll take the Patriots on Sunday instead of the Seahawks tonight. And then really quickly tonight, Breece Hall or Benson. Benson. Obviously, we're gambling a little bit with Trey Benson, right? We're rolling the dice a little bit because it's his first opportunity as a bell cow. And we don't know what that necessarily is going to look like. And we may not even get the full story or the full scope of what Trey Benson can do because it's a short week. Nevertheless, he's going to take over the yeoman's share of opportunities in this backfield. And Breece Hall has been kind of blah the past 2 weeks. He's in a good matchup against the Miami Dolphins. But then, since week 1, he's been kind of whatever. If he gets Justin Fields back, that certainly helps, but Fields hasn't been cleared yet, so we don't know for sure. I think I would roll the dice on Benson. I think I would roll the dice on Benson. I think Breece is more of a flex play. Benson is like, okay, let's start him. Let's see what he can do now that James Conner's not in the mix anymore. I'll take Benson. And then standard scoring, Brown, Swift, Henderson. So I guess we need to see if Swift is going to get cleared. I think he's been practicing in a limited fashion. Chase Brown gets a tough matchup against the Broncos. But he is still the clear-cut top option for Cincinnati's backfield. I am very intrigued by Travion Henderson this week after Ramondre fumbled twice last week and Antonio Gibson fumbled once. But I do think he's still a little bit more on the flex radar as opposed to being a clear-cut start. I'll take Chase Brown for one more week Let's see if he can come through with some volume. Let's see if the Bengals offense can bounce back after an abysmal showing against Minnesota. It doesn't get much easier going up against Denver. In Denver. But, you know, the Bengals got humbled pretty good last week by the Vikings. Let's see if they can bounce back. I will roll the dice with Chase Brown one more time before I start to, maybe give up. And I'll take DeAndre Swift if he plays. If he doesn't, then you can go Henderson. But I'll take DeAndre Swift because at least he is the team's starting running back. Henderson might be the starting running back this week, but we don't know for sure. And then, am I worried about Chuba? Mildly. Not full-blown panic, but mildly. Yes. Like, on one hand, I don't like that I don't like the snap counts and how much Rico Dowdle is cutting into his work. But on the other hand, the Carolina Panthers still paid Chuba a solid contract. They gave him solid money this year. 1A money. So I think the opportunities will come. It might not be as much as we had hoped. It might not be as consistent as we had hoped. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how worried am I about Chuba? Maybe a 5. Right in the middle. I'm a little nervous, but I'm not completely freaking out. Because oftentimes money wins. Money talks, money wins. Money wins out. The Panthers paid Chuba to be their guy. They didn't pay Rico Dowdle to be their guy. They're going to give the dude that they gave the most money to the ball. That is just generally what happens. So I'm willing to still be a little more patient on Chuba. That being said, if you can trade Chuba and a Chargers wide receiver for James Cook, to acquire James Cook, I'm doing that. What's going on, Greg? Good to see you. How do I see McBride faring tonight? I mean, any given week, we got to rank him as a top 2 tight end. So you expect, Trey McBride is that guy at tight end where you expect top 5 production from him every week because that's what we drafted him for. That's what we drafted him to be. A stud. A top flight stud. So, yeah, I feel just fine about Trey McBride. As far as Nico, how worried am I about him? I mean, he's still a top 10 receiver in the league. So I'm not giving him away. I don't know what your situation is, Greg, but if you are wanting to move off of him, or maybe not wanting to, but if you're thinking about moving off of him, all right, can I interest you in CD Lamb? You got to wait a couple of weeks for him to be for him to come back, and then maybe another week after that to get his feet back under him. So there might be like 3-4 weeks of kind of a holding pattern, but then he goes back to being full flight top 3 or 4 wide receiver every week. Especially with how bad the Cowboys defense is. Like, can I interest you in CD Lamb? That would be my question. See if you could trade Nico for CD. See if you can get CD plus for Nico Collins because he's a wide receiver 1 and CD's a wide receiver 1, but CD's not available right now, so I'm giving you a wide receiver 1. At least give me something back that is potentially usable for me for these next couple of weeks. Can you turn Nico into CD plus? Something to think about. Because, yeah, it's not unfair to be concerned. It's not unfair to be concerned about Nico and the Texans in general. So if you want to move off of him, I understand. I would be aggressive, though, and I would still ask for top dollar. because he is still really good. He's been a little fallen short of expectations, but not totally. Yeah, I would if you want to dangle him out there, go to the CD owner. See how desperate they are to add a wide receiver. See if they'd be willing to do it. Let's see. I got the, this is a question that pertains to tonight, so let me quickly get to it. Walker or Dobbins, in full PPR? Dobbins. Walker is a guy that will catch the ball, and obviously that boosts his floor in full PPR. But Zach Charbonnet is back tonight, and I mentioned it a few times on the stream. I would not be surprised if Charbonnet gets his typical 12 to 15 carries tonight. And that is opportunity taken away from Kenneth Walker. Dobbins, for now, it's not going to probably stay this way all season long, but right now, Dobbins almost has that backfield to himself. RJ Harvey is not really a factor, and I think he will be eventually. But this is Dobbins' show right now, and it's a great matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, last week, Harvey had 2 carries for 2 yards and 3 catches for 14 yards. Harvey has 13 carries through 3 games so far. He's a change of pace guy right now. He's not a main factor. Dobbins is the dude. Walker's got a split with Charbonnet. I'll take Dobbins. And then let's see. Oh, is this a dynasty trade? Okay, hold on. Timeout. If you can do Ladd and you can get a second-round pick for DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Hollywood Brown, and you don't feel like you're losing that much ground on being competitive this year by giving up all those pieces, then I'm in. Now I'm more interested, because Dynasty, now you can get Ladd McConkey and have him forever. And Keenan Allen is great, but he's 33. DJ Moore has been solid, but he's a little older as well. He's not like falling off a cliff, but he is 28. So a couple more years, he might ultimately be phased out. Meanwhile, what is Ladd, like 23? He's 23. He'll turn 24 in November, so he's 4 years younger than DJ Moore, and maybe already better. If you can get Ladd and a draft pick for those 3 players, and it's a dynasty league, now I'm more into it. Now I'm more like inclined to tell you yes. Yeah. Let's see. If that doesn't work, would I go Chuba, Nico, and one of the Chargers guys for Cook and either Sutton or London? Interesting. The question is how, like, I would do it for, yeah, I think I would. I think I still would do that. And honestly, London or Sutton is fine. Maybe I prefer, I can't believe I'm saying this because I was a big London proponent, but maybe Michael Penix is just buns. I'm not sure yet. Bo Nix is not buns. Bo Nix is better than Michael Penix. So from that perspective, that makes Sutton a little bit more enticing than London. I do think London is a really good talent, but he's in a bad situation at the moment, and I don't know how likely it is that it gets better. At least we've seen Bo Nix play well. Penix had some good games at the end of the season last year, but that hasn't carried over to this season. So, yeah, if you can make that happen, I can make that. I'm okay with that as well. I'm okay with that scenario as well because you're still getting James Cook at the end of the day, and that's a big upgrade from Chuba. Yeah. I just want to see what James, and I know we're coming up on kickoff here shortly, so we'll be wrapping this up in a bit. I just want to look at. Yeah, I mean Cook. Yeah, Cook is the RB2 in half PPR and the RB3 in full PPR right now. So yes, at the end of the day, I would still say I'm on board with this if you can make it happen. Yeah, absolutely. Just rock with Dobbins. Rock with Dobbins until he gives you a reason not to, and there's a good chance that will happen sooner than later, but right now, play him. And it's a great matchup. He's going up against the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday night at home. Yes, I want Dobbins in my lineup. I want Dobbins in my lineup for sure. Yeah, start with the first offer and work your way up from there, for sure. Okay, we are at the end of the chat, and we're about 5 minutes away from kickoff. So I think now's about as good a time to wrap things up. I will be back on Saturday for anybody who has start-sit questions and want to get them, revisited, or if a new situation pops up and you want to talk about it then. 5 p.m. Eastern. On Saturday, week 4 start-sit help. Any other questions are obviously always welcome, but start-sit will be the primary focus on Saturday. No Sunday stream this weekend. There is an early game. The Vikings and Steelers are kicking off in Dublin at 9:30 Eastern, so we will not be going live at that time. I could try to maybe squeeze one quick one in. Before the end of that game and the start of kickoff, we will see. But there will not be an official stream on Sunday morning because of the Dublin game. But I will be back Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern, talking shop, taking any start-sit questions that you may have. But that'll do it for me tonight. Appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out. Special shout-out to all of my members. I saw Crumply Heads. I saw Bobby. I saw Sport Dog. I know I saw Greg just pop in. I think that was everybody. I think those were all of my members. Yep. So shout out to the members that I saw. Thank you, Tyler, for the supers, plural. Appreciate it. Appreciate it very much. And to everybody who popped in, came in and hang out tonight, whether it was for a minute or 10 minutes or for 2 hours. I appreciate you guys thinking enough to take the time. Enjoy the game. Best of luck, whatever your scenario is tonight. And I will see you guys on